Hey, what's up? This is Chosen and joined by my good friend and teammate, Mr. Scratch. And we are going to talk about this poll right here that you see pulled up on the screen where I was asking the viewers, and we got a lot of votes on this one. So a lot of hype and discussion around this hot topic on who is the best Void Affinity attack damage dealer. We're going to get Scratch's perspective as someone that competes at the highest tiers of Platinum Arena, and we will bounce this topic back and forth to see if we can answer this as best as possible. So let's get into it. Hey, what's up, Scratch? How you doing today?
Yeah, doing pretty good, man. Doing pretty good, actually. An interested poll you got right there. Very curious to see what the people will say in the comments and stuff, and what's your opinion on it as well. But yeah, interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's a good topic because the most sought after champions in the game are Void Legendaries. And not only Void Legendaries, but people love DPS. They love damage. So you could tell this is one of the most votes I've had on a poll. So people love damage. They love Void Legendaries. And also, people tend to always have their favorites. It's either a champion that they have a soft spot for, or a champion that they've gotten their ass kicked recently by in the arena. Now all of a sudden, so I'm surprised it was a little bit more even than I thought. I thought we would see a runaway winner. I know when I do like tier list stuff, people are always saying that like, oh, you need this so-and-so champion, you have them too low, they're the clear best. And it looks like we're seeing three of them really stand out, and then Ethos being the clear fourth. So how do you feel overall about the general kind of ranking of it?
I don't think Leorius should be the number one, but then I understand the people's perspective. So the majority of people that voted are more of casual players and, yes, progressive players, right? So when you're talking about Leorius, out of all those snookers right there, is definitely the most progression friendly, definitely the most solid nooker, starting from a bronze all the way to gold 4, 5 on the lower part of it, because of everything that he brings in. Immune to crowd control debuffs, to AoEs, unkillable debuffs. It's just a very, very powerful nuker. Easier to keep alive comparing him with the rest and stuff. If we're talking about from the meta sort of perspective, which is kind of like the thing that rules the game, right? Baron, Georgid are the goats for sure. Georgid being a new addition to the game, very, very powerful nuker. It's kind of like a Baron on steroids when it's passive proc. So it's kind of like a 50% chance to be a Baron on steroids, basically. Yeah, like when they buffed Baron, I knew that he was going to be great against specific teams. The bolster set that got introduced right before they buffed Baron, And I even mentioned that I don't think Baron will knock down Leorius from being the king, but it actually did. I find it hard to justify having the gear on my Leorius if I wouldn't have to do 3v3 arena,
Okay, yeah, so I do agree with that. Leorius with his ability to actually stay alive and be annoying, he's got great potential for the progression phase of the arena. So from a platinum perspective, how would you rank them 1 through 4? Like let's say you're trying to compete in platinum and you can only have one of these. Which one would you want for your account for like platinum pushing?
So I'll be honest. I haven't had a chance to properly play a Georgid in Platinum Arena. Only on the test server. The teams there are completely different from what you're gonna find in the actual game.
But you compete against people when you're pushing that have Georgid, right?
Yeah. Well, nobody really keeps him in defense, So
that's true. Yeah, he's an offense, so he's more of an attacker. So you didn't get to face him a ton. Yeah.
So if you would ask me, Scratch, you would pick Baron or Georgid. At the very moment, I would go with the safer option, and I would probably say, yeah, I want to have Baron just for the simple fact that I know 100% what he does guaranteed. Georgid, on the other hand, he brings in some very, very nasty things in his kit, right? And you can only rely on him 50% of the times, you know. So I would personally say that Baron is still the GOAT, followed very closely by Georgid, then Leorius, then Aitos is completely off the menu for this. But Baron and Georgid are very close. What I think that most of the people are doing, at least what I would do, is have Baron into nuke and have Georgid as well to assist, you know.
Well,
so use them both in a team if
can you use both of them though?
Options.
Can you like
yeah.
So
right
you think
now
go ahead.
Right now you're probably gonna go in with the team like something to lock the opponent to crowd control it, right? Then you're gonna have an increased attack, you're gonna have a nuker and maybe a Kymar to reset, you know? And you could drop Kymar and just let their stone skin go away and then just nuke with Baron, but in the meantime you can actually hammer somebody down with stone skin with Georgid, like their main threat in the team, you know? So it can definitely work very, very nice together, yeah.
Okay, so then Baron, Georgid, it's really close. It's either or, and then you think definitively third is Leorius, and then definitively and then definitively fourth is Ethos for platinum.
Ethos, Ethos, yeah, is very, very low ranked.
Is there somebody I should have had? Because the poll only lets me put 4. I think Baron, Georgid, and Leorius were the obvious choices to have on the poll. Do you think I should have put like a Neathway or like some different attack nuker, or is Ethos kind of like still the 4th?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have many other options. I mean, we do have Taras right now, who's an HP based nuker. He's very, very powerful as well.
Yeah, I was doing attack based. Yeah.
Attack based. Yeah, actually, just reading again what you have on the poll. Yeah, I don't think anyone else would have filled the role better. Like Hegemon is great, but at the same time, he's not really considered as a nuker. You know, even though you build him for damage sometimes, or you build him for CC, you're not really gonna use him as your main nuker when you're attacking somebody, unless you're farming some pleb teams, you know, that don't have reaction or stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I feel like Aitos is definitely the 4th better option that you have available there. Like I'm just trying to think if anyone else.
Yeah, I mean Hegemon would have been. Hegemon would have been like the other one to consider, but he's a little bit more of a utility instead of like
exactly. Yeah, I wouldn't go in a fight with Hegemon being my main nuker. You know, like hell no.
I got you. Would those numbers change if you were talking about a progression account? How would you rank them 1 through 4? Because like Platinum Arena only applies to like 0.5% of people. So you know, for the other 99% of people, how would you rank them 1 through 4 for like in silver and gold and all that?
Well, I feel like Leorius is gonna be the GOAT there because you're gonna have the crit rate aura that's gonna help you as well. The survivability, being immune to crowd control, no Tormins, no other champions to mess you up, you know. So I feel like for that, Leorius is definitely the GOAT, you know.
And then 2, 3, and 4 for like the more progression.
Probably the same way. Baron, Georgid, Aitos being the last one too. Like,
you still think like I thought maybe Ethos because you can build him with less crit rate or something, but
nah, because even in the lower tiers, you find Stone Skin, you find reaction as well, you know, and Aitos is just not hitting that hard. And just let me put it in the next way: their multipliers doesn't change regardless of where you are in the game in terms of progression. The champions have the exact same multiplier, so just because you're able to pinch a bit of crit rate on some of the champions, it doesn't mean that will make the champion hit harder, you know. So Aitos with the level of gear as a progression player, it's not going to hit better than a Baron who has higher multiplier in the same gear, you know? So I feel like these champions will still actually benefit more. Plus, Baron ignores quite a few other things on top of it, which will actually make your build easier. If you don't have Savage, you know, like an Aitos without Savage is like... Yeah, Baron at least ignores 50% defense from his kit. Georgid can do the same thing, you know, so... I still think Aitos is the last, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so then it kind of makes sense that the poll ended up the way it did because you've got like most.
It did actually, yeah.
Most people kind of fearing or wanting Leorius the most, and it makes kind of sense with what you're talking about because most people aren't you. Most people aren't in like top 10 Plat Arena, and then everybody else kind of agreeing that Baron and Georgid are still better than Ethos no matter kind of what point in the game you're in.
Mm, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. And the one that I end up avoiding the most, honestly, in the arena when I'm like just gold 5 farming is Leorius, just because he's so annoying. I mean, you almost have to bring like a Genbo or something to just to kind of farm up your damn Magisteel.
Yeah, there are quite a few Leorius in defense in Platinum Arena nowadays, mainly on weekly defenses, not on the actual reset. But it is pretty annoying to deal with him sometimes, for sure. If the team is well built, yeah, you're gonna have a struggle with Leorius.
What would you?
There are not that many counters to him. Like you can counter him with a Rotos, you can counter him with a Ronda, for example. You can counter him with Ramantu. There are a few champions that can counter him and his passive and all the craziness that he brings, but it's not as easy, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last question I want to ask you on our way out is what team of 4 champions have you been using the most recently when you're like pushing for like top 10 plat? What are the 4 champions currently that you use to kind
of? Oh, they're all very free to play. Actually, I'm just using Duchess, Warlord, Baron, and Kymar.
Okay, so that's Scratch's go-to kind of standard cookie cutter team, huh?
Yeah, the most free to play one that I found on the entire game.
Who was it? It was Duchess, Warlord, Kymar, and Baron. I think that qualifies as free to play friendly. Only half the team is voids. Like
and you can actually get them from mystery shards. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if half the team is voids, I feel like that qualifies. Yeah, why not? So then
exactly.
And then when you're pushing plat, what are the 4 most common teams or common champions you see on defense? Is it like Siphi or like who do you run into most often as a defense you're trying to attack?
Duchess, Mortu Macab, could be Necret, it could be a Warlord, it could be a Yumeko, mainly the OP champions, Rotos quite a bit as well actually. But yeah, these are kind of like the goats. An Ursa guy every now and then. Now we have Taras, we have Marichka dropping in, you know. Which
I've heard it said like champions. 88 different ways. Marichka, yeah.
Her name is Marichka, but in Romania we say Marichika, you know, and I just like
like
that for fun.
That makes sense. I see. Okay, I got it. Okay, cool. Well,
and Cupid as Venus is still a very crazy team. Yeah, don't forget him. Actually,
you were running that for a while, weren't you? You were running that for a while, weren't you? Was that Smiley?
Yeah, I still run it in offense. I don't really run it in defense, but I run it in offense. It's pretty easy to counter. Like if you have the right team to counter it, it's not a big threat, you know.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, is there anything else you wanted to mention on our way out? We just kind of wanted to touch base about this poll and see if the viewers are right and agree with us. But it looks like I think the viewers did a pretty good job on this one. I think so. It's pretty accurate.
They should definitely make sure they're voting on most of them because like these were kind of like getting an idea of what's happening in the background with them and just generally, you know. So keep an eye on all the polls, guys. Make sure you're voting. You're not voting for presidents and stuff like that. We're not charging you money either. So yeah.
Yeah, I know it is fun. It helps us.
The fun, you know.
Yeah, it helps us keep a pulse, so that the resources that we make, we can try to make it as accurate as possible. But yeah,
as relevant as possible. Yeah, exactly.
That's right. I appreciate you, Scratch. Thanks for taking time out of your day to stop by my channel and join us over here. I will link down below to Scratch's channel. You definitely want to go check him out. He's always doing amazing raid content over there. So thanks, brother. Have a good one, and I'm sure we'll talk soon.